Why does life seem to make you wait at the exact moment you finally feel ready? Not before, not after, but right when something inside you finally says, now. Most people assume waiting is something the universe does to them. But what if waiting isn't outside? What if it's a tension living quietly inside your system? Waiting is not a timeline problem. It's a state of internal friction, a kind of background pressure that makes the moment feel incomplete. You feel it in your chest, in your breath, in that low-level anxiety that says something is missing. The mind calls this preparation, but often it's not preparation, it's resistance. You see, the unconscious human experiences time as pressure. Every delay feels like punishment. Every silence feels like failure. Even in moments of stillness, the nervous system is bracing, holding tension in the body, expecting disappointment, waiting for the next blow. Time, from that perspective, becomes heavy, threatening, personal. But the awakened human experiences time differently. Time becomes neutral. It stops being the enemy. It becomes a river you float in, not a weight on your back. There's no rush, no urgency, no silent war against the moment. Because when there's no internal resistance, time collapses into presence. Here's the simple truth. Delay is not punishment. Delay is feedback. It's your inner architecture telling you that something inside isn't yet fully open. You're still gripping, still doubting, still holding onto an old identity that isn't compatible with what you're trying to call in. You're not being tested, you're being calibrated. Manifestation doesn't operate on effort. It responds to clarity. It responds to alignment. And clarity only happens when the nervous system feels safe, when the emotional body isn't gripping, when your inner signal is clean and undistorted. That's when things begin to move, not because you forced them, but because you finally stopped pushing. You were never behind. You were building capacity. You were not waiting for life. Life was waiting for you to feel safe receiving. That's not punishment. That's precision. Why is it that the more you try, the further it slips away? Why does pushing harder so often feel like dragging your own desire through quicksand? This isn't failure. This is friction. And most of it is invisible. Effort is not wrong, but effort without alignment becomes resistance, and most effort in this world isn't clean. It's not grounded. It's not sovereign. It's driven by fear, fear of lack, fear of time running out, fear of not being enough until the goal is reached. That fear becomes motion, urgency becomes strategy, that the frequency of effort born from fear creates energetic noise. It scrambles the signal you're sending to life. And when your signal is noisy, reality cannot respond clearly. It hears mixed messages. It feels pressure, distortion, desperation. Desire by itself is pure. It's natural. It's how life grows through you. But desire mixed with tension becomes distortion. It pulls energy in multiple directions. You want it, but you don't trust you'll receive it. You reach for it, but you brace for disappointment. That's not clarity, that's conflict. The unconscious self leaks energy constantly through this kind of urgency. It rushes, it overthinks, it plans out of panic. It's always doing, always adjusting, always reacting. Not because it's strong, but because it's afraid to stop. The awakened self moves differently. It doesn't suppress desire. It refines it. It doesn't resist action. It calibrates it. Action still happens, but it's clean. It's quiet. It's compressed like a beam of light, not scattered like static. That's what makes it powerful. True manifestation doesn't respond to more effort. It responds to more clarity. And clarity is a byproduct of presence, not pressure. Trying harder is often a symptom of internal disconnection. It means the outer desire has outpaced the inner safety. The action is faster than the nervous system can hold. So the body braces, the mind races, and the result is resistance disguised as productivity. You don't need to try harder, you need to listen more carefully. And when your action arises from awareness, not fear, reality doesn't resist you, it mirrors you. So slow down, not because you're behind, but because the fastest route is the one without friction. You are not lazy, you are learning the language of clean energy. You are learning how to move without noise, how to create without leaking, how to receive without chasing, and that changes everything. Time is not a river you're stuck in. It's a mirror, a feedback system reflecting your internal state in real time. Most people live as though time is a force pressing against them, something outside of them, something they're either running out of, falling behind on, or desperately chasing. But time isn't chasing you, it's responding to you. When there is resistance in the system, emotional tension, subconscious fear, misaligned identity, time stretches. It slows down not to punish you, but to protect what you're not yet stable enough to receive. The delay becomes a cushion, a buffer, a necessary pause for integration. This is why certain phases in life feel stuck. Even when you're doing everything right, you're not being held back by life, you're being slowed down by the friction in your own system. Your nervous system plays a huge role in this. To the unconscious self, any gap between desire and outcome is read as danger. The mind panics, the breath shortens, the body tightens, and time, through that lens, becomes a threat. You start to experience every hour as pressure, every delay as personal, every stillness as failure. But the awakened self moves through time differently, not faster, not busier, just cleaner. When there is coherence between thought, emotion, nervous system, and belief, time collapses. There is no resistance, and when resistance vanishes, reality doesn't need to delay. Time isn't linear anymore, it becomes responsive. It bends inward, folding into the clarity you carry. This is what spiritual traditions hinted at with words like alignment, divine timing, or non-duality. But underneath the poetry, there's a practical system, a felt architecture of consciousness, where presence replaces panic, where now is enough, and where readiness doesn't mean effort, but openness. The truth is, you are not running out of time, you are creating it, moment by moment, based on the clarity or confusion of your inner signal. And the more present you are, the more grounded, clear, emotionally regulated, the less time you need, because life no longer has to wait for you to become coherent. You already are. This is time dilation from within, not a trick, not a hack, but a natural result of an integrated self. You stop pushing the clock and you start becoming the clock. And in that shift, you realize time was never the enemy. It was a reflection. And now, finally, it's reflecting clarity. Why does the body so often block what the mind says it wants? Why can you be clear about your goal, certain of your desire, and still feel frozen when it gets close? This is not self-sabotage. This is protection. Resistance is not laziness. It's not failure. It's not a lack of motivation. It is stored emotion, unresolved fear, and unprocessed experience held deep in the system, often beneath awareness. When something new approaches, the body doesn't just ask, do we want this? It asks, are we safe to receive this? And if the answer is no, resistance activates. It's not logical, it's primal. Your system will hold back even your deepest desires if those desires threaten the identity structures you've built your safety around. This is why manifestations stall just as they get close. The part of you that asked for change is not the part of you that has to live with it. And the part of you that has to live with it, your nervous system, your habits, your sense of self, may not be ready to dissolve its old role. That identity, even if painful, is familiar. Familiar means safe. Safe means survival. So the body resists anything that might collapse that structure too quickly. This creates friction. Your mind says, let's go. Your body says, let me breathe. And manifestation pauses until they agree. This is not your fault. This is the brilliance of your inner architecture, trying to keep you regulated. Resistance isn't a block, it's a boundary, asking for your awareness, not to force it open, but to sit with it, to understand why it formed, to let it soften on its own timeline. That's the difference between unconscious and conscious living. The unconscious self fights resistance like it's the enemy. The awakened self sees it as communication, an invitation, a doorway. Because resistance doesn't dissolve through more pressure. It dissolves through presence, through honest attention, through the deep safety of allowing. And once the nervous system feels seen, not pushed, It stops bracing, the walls lower, the energy opens, and what once felt far away begins to move toward you, without force. This is emotional engineering. This is how you shift your system from protective to receptive. Not by defeating resistance, but by understanding why it existed at all. When that happens, you stop blaming yourself for the delay, and you start building a relationship with the parts of you that were only ever trying to keep you safe. Manifestation doesn't happen just because you believe. It happens when your internal systems speak the same language. Most people send out mixed signals without realizing it. Their thoughts say, "I want this." Their emotions say, "I'm not sure it's safe." And their body says, "I'm still bracing for the worst." That is not resistance, that is fragmentation. And in that fragmentation, resonance is lost. Resonance is not positivity. It's not how brightly you visualize. It's not how passionately you affirm. Resonance is coherence. It's what happens when thought, emotion, and nervous system all line up into one clear signal, with no distortion. The unconscious self sends out static. Even when it desires something deeply, it leaks energy through fear, doubt, urgency, and survival habits. It tries to create from misalignment, and the result is often confusion, a stalled life, things almost working, almost arriving, almost healing. But the awakened self learns to compress energy, to refine it, to send a steady frequency that reality can actually respond to. This is not magic, this is clean inner architecture. Awareness creates alignment, alignment creates resonance, and resonance makes the gap between desire and result collapse. Imagine this like an electrical system. In a scattered signal, there's noise, voltage drops, flow weakens. But in a coherent system, like a superconductor, energy flows without resistance. Reality bends faster toward you because there's no friction inside you. This is what we mean by spiritual resonance. It's not a spiritual performance, it's a system of internal clarity. And when you are clear, not in words, but in frequency, you become a conduit. What once felt distant starts appearing without effort. It's not because you forced it, it's because your system finally stopped arguing with itself. That's when you become magnetic, not because you tried to be, but because every part of you finally agrees it's time to receive. Sometimes life changes overnight, not gradually, not step by step, but all at once, and people around you call it luck, destiny, or a miracle, but it's none of those things. It's mechanics. The moment of sudden manifestation isn't random, it's the result of something deep and quiet, the dropping away of inner friction. You can spend years desiring something, visualizing it, even working toward it, but nothing moves, not because the goal is too big, but because the signal you're sending is still scattered. There's doubt in the system, fear hiding behind your plans, bracing in the body, parts of you saying yes, while other parts whisper no. But then one day, something shifts. Not outside, inside. You stop trying to prove something. You stop bracing against failure. You stop needing it to hurry. And in that silence, something lets go. The grip relaxes, the identity softens, and suddenly, without effort or warning, things begin to move. It's not a spike in action. It's not a motivational breakthrough. It's the collapse of internal resistance. Alignment finally stabilizes, and the signal you send to life, to the field, to your own nervous system becomes clean. Manifestation accelerates, not because you pushed harder, but because reality can now flow without distortion. It doesn't need to pause anymore to protect the parts of you that were still unsure. It doesn't need to test you. It doesn't need to delay. This is what people miss when they talk about instant change. They see the event, but not the calibration, not the invisible years it took to quiet the system enough for that change to land safely. The waiting was not failure, it was refinement. Sudden shifts are not magic. They are the reward of emotional stability, the product of quiet work, not outer hustle, but inner coherence. This is the moment time collapses, because time was only ever needed to give you space to become ready. And once you're ready, reality doesn't wait another second. It arrives in full. You were never late. You were learning how to carry what you asked for. There's a story the mind tells, that you missed your moment, that you hesitated too long, that someone else moved faster, got luckier, or simply deserved it more. But none of that is real. None of that is truth. Delay is not disapproval. Delay is integration. The soul does not follow human clocks. It moves in rhythm with your capacity. And capacity isn't mental. It's emotional. It's somatic. It's the quiet readiness of your nervous system, your heart, your inner identity structure, all catching up to the version of you who can hold what's coming without collapsing. Awareness matures before reality moves. You start seeing the patterns. You stop running from discomfort. You begin to hear your own resistance without judging it. And slowly, your system shifts from chasing life to receiving it. That shift doesn't come in a flash. It comes in thousands of tiny moments where you choose to stay present, to feel instead of escape, to listen instead of force. This is not punishment. This is pacing. Life doesn't want to overwhelm you. It wants to land inside you fully, without triggering collapse. You're not behind. You're aligning. You're not broken. You're refining. You're not late. You're in training. And awakening. Real awakening is not one big moment of realization. It's a process. A daily calibration, a quiet return to presence again and again, until it becomes natural to stay. When you see that, you stop asking why it took so long. You start understanding why it couldn't have happened any sooner. There's peace in that, a peace that doesn't come from reaching the destination, but from finally trusting the path. And now you know, nothing was wrong with you. You were just becoming the version of yourself who doesn't rush, doesn't chase, doesn't beg, because she knows she's already home.